welcome back to The Big Picture. It's 9:04. I'm Bryn Caswell with Amy Steigerwald. And joining us, Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein. Hello, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you for coming on again. We
Thanks
appreciate it.
No, it's always great to come on. I appreciate
No, we
the
love
invite.
it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this latest lawsuit you guys have brought forward to the Trump administration. We were just talking. This is the third time the city of Columbus has done this.
Yeah, on healthcare specifically. So this is the 10th lawsuit that the city has filed, my office has filed against the Trump administration. This is the third one on the Affordable Care Act. And it actually started back in the Trump 2016 era of the first part of the Trump administration. And it's the same sort of thing that's happening over and over again, which is the basis of all three lawsuits. And that is just this intentional, what we believe, sabotage of access, coverage, and cost for what the purpose of the Affordable Care Act is. The way the system works, Congress passes the Affordable Care Act, but the president, through different agencies like Health and Human Services, they make rules of like how the Affordable Care Act is created and how the exchanges work and how people can log on and how much it costs and the type of coverage that exists. And it's our belief that, and this is the third time that we've sued them over this. We're 2 for 2, by the way. Is that when they make these rules, they're making them in a way that limits coverage, that drives up cost, and the quality of the insurance isn't that great. And that's not what the intent of the Affordable Care Act is, so we brought litigation.
Okay. I think specifically this new proposal, what about it sticks out to you, and how is that going to affect how much people could pay?
Well, they're estimating 2 to 3 million people because of these new rules will be denied coverage. That's 2 to 3 million across the United States, including people right here in the city of Columbus. Sure. And that's why, it's really important, I think, for cities like Columbus to stand up because when you look at the fact that the achievement of the American dream seems so far out of reach for people right now, that part of that achieving the American dream is having good quality health care, to be a healthy person so you can get an education, be the mom or dad you want to be, so you can get a job, get job training. And if, something like the Affordable Care Act, if you don't have private coverage through your employer, something like the Affordable Care Act is the means for you to make sure that you can get the health care that you need. So if you want to reach the American dream that so many people feel is out of reach or non-existent anymore, part of that is health care.
Mm-hmm. And we were also talking about how a lot of people see the headline, city attorney brings another suit against the Trump administration. They automatically think this is a political situation. Explain to me why you say it's not.
Well, look, the previous 9 lawsuits that we've brought this year are about real money that the Trump administration has cut off from the city of Columbus, that pay for police, that pay for infectious disease outbreak, that pay for domestic violence advocates. So these are positions that do really important work in our community. Now, this lawsuit has to do with health care to people that live in the city of Columbus that may take advantage of the Affordable Care Act and the exchanges so they can have the insurance that they need. So I know it's easy. People may not believe me when I say it's truly not political, because it's not. It's the fact that money is being cut off to the city of Columbus that provide real services and real jobs for people to make our community better. And in this instance, it's real health care for people so they can take care of themselves.
Do we have a gauge of how many people in Columbus and Central Ohio this could impact?
I don't have an exact number on how it affects the local market, but it's estimated 2 to 3 million nationwide. That's just on one of the rule changes. There's several rule changes we're suing over. So this is real money, real people that we know, that we go to church with, that may be our neighbor, that are trying to take advantage of this so they can achieve that American dream. I
know you said you're 2 for 2. What if you're not this time?
Well,
what would be the impact?
Honestly, we don't judge our success on wins or losses, even though we like to win. The reality is we fight for things that we believe in. We stand up for what we think is right. And I tell my team that I don't care if we go to court and lose. What I care about is that we fight for the things that are important for the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. Can we switch gears and talk about violence this weekend a little bit? Mm-hmm. I know you can't do much on this because we were talking about that earlier too, but what did you think about what happened at the Fun Fest this past weekend? We've seen the video of the fight. We blurred it because we believe minors are involved. Obviously, the city of Columbus has put forth a huge effort financially, $17.5 million to try to tackle this problem to not happen this summer.
Yeah.
I know Mayor Andrew Ginther, he said there's going to be another conversation happening in the southwest part of the city. What do you really think needs to change to prevent these things from happening?
This is an incredibly complicated situation. You have police that report up to the mayor. You have prosecutions of juveniles that report to the county prosecutor. You have a school system that is governed by a school board and the superintendent. You have funding that comes from the county, the city, and used to be federal government before they started taking away money for cities that deal with these issues. And the reality is, like, what happened this past weekend is unacceptable conduct. And I'm concerned on a couple fronts. And the first is, what we don't want to do is lump in what the actions of these few and lump that in to somehow paint an entire group of youth across all of the city as somehow troublemakers. And that's not the case. That's not what we think. These are an isolated group of kids that were not behaving badly and committed crimes. It was violence and chaos. And so with that said, the violence and chaos that was created, it needs to be held accountable. And that's, there were arrests made, and the county prosecutor, Shayla Favor, I saw her make a statement that she intends to prosecute these individuals, because I do think we have to send a message that this type of conduct, at the beginning of the summer especially, is not going to be accepted by city leadership, by county leadership, or by anyone in the neighborhoods in our community that are trying to have a great summer for all the kids and families that are involved. So I think it's really important that we do have accountability, that we're not afraid to talk about accountability. Now, with all that said, it also is important to invest in youth. And we have to have opportunities and programming for kids so that they can get summer jobs if they want it, or have spaces they can go to be kids and enjoy themselves. But fighting, causing violence and chaos, that's not expressing yourself. That's illegal conduct that needs to be held accountable.
At what point do you think parents could maybe be held accountable?
Parents are probably, at the end of the day, the single most best solution to this problem. At some point, parents have to step up and discipline their kids, know where their kids are, and hold your kids accountable.
Is there a way that can necessarily be done by law in these cases?
Yeah, there are some laws on the books that deal with parental responsibility and child conduct. I believe that the city council said they want to look at exploring more. The reality is that even though it's adults, because it's parents, those are still governed and prosecuted in the juvenile court. So that's outside of the city of Columbus jurisdiction. It's in the county jurisdiction. And these judges, they're all independently elected. So when we all go vote, we vote for the juvenile judges, we vote for common pleas court judges. And that we have to keep an eye on and be mindful of how the judges react here, because the prosecutors could be aligned that there needs to be accountability. And if the judges aren't, doing accountability that the community thinks needs to be done, then there's electoral consequences that could happen as well. Mm-hmm. I will say that on the $17.5 million, that is a lot of money that's being spent, but I think it's also fair that we ask ourselves, what's our return on investment of how we're spending that money, specifically of, youth that are, involved in the juvenile court, and or youth that are chronically truant or absentee in school, and or youth that are involved in children protective services. Like that, those three buckets were like some of the most at-risk youth in our community. That's where, with data sharing and overlapping information of how we can identify those kids and their families, like that's where we need to laser focus the money. Of course, the kids that want to be lifeguards, let's make sure we hire them. Of course, the kids that want to work at rec and parks, let's make sure we have opportunities for them. But some of those kids, they're not the ones that are going to be out searching for the jobs. And so I think it's incumbent upon us that we have to go out and find them. And how do you identify it? You identify it with partnerships with the schools, with the courts, with children's services, with police. And let's go out and let's help these families and their kids so that we can make all our communities safer, put them on the right path for success.
And keep them busy at night, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good solution. Zach Klein, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.